meant to record. This is going to be part 7, and we're going to try to get a bit ahead and see if we can just kind of cover more ground first. Technology. Everyone. Sorry, I'm just like creating the broadcast for X, and I'm gonna open the post. Cool. Okay. So I think the stream is live, and what we're gonna do is post these. All right, perfect. So let me just 1 second. I'm clicking around so I can see the time. Mute these, and let's get started. So we'll go to this one here. We've done the blockchain basics, we've done wallets and transactions, and we've done DEX mechanics and deep dive. We did this yesterday, and we actually went quite ahead because we did go to like the whole thing of creating the token and the LPs and the liquidity providers, and how all this kind of stuff is, how the pricing works. Today I want to basically do a bit more, like I want to cover real-time market monitoring, and I think then we can slightly go into some code. I mean, like the interesting parts are going to be executing code trades, and then combines data feeds with trade logic to create sniping or momentum strategies. The thing is, sniping is what I hate the most. Oh, wait a second. That is a bit ugly. The start button. Yeah. Resume lesson. That's a bit of a... Oh, that hurts my eyes. 1 second. Let me just take this. This hurts my eyes. Docs. We'll fix it after the stream, okay? All right. So hurts my eyes. All right, but we'll go and do real-time market monitoring. Build WebSockets listeners for Mempool. So I have no idea what Mempool is, and prices, so your bot catches opportunities instantly. So let's take a look at these, and that gonna kind of takes to strategy implementation if we want to, execution of trades. Let's just go with these, okay? Let's see what happens. Today I'm feeling like we're feeling like architecture today. All right. And again, I'm gonna try to role play these as much as I can, so actually not have. I'm not gonna try to talk too much meta about the stream. I'm really kind of like trying to learn this, and I'll fix the setup and all this kind of stuff that I know it's I've always been promising. And anyway, let's get started with the lesson. All right, is everything working well? Yes. Thoughts are being detected. We're in chapter 1. And let's get started. What does real-time market monitoring mean to you, and why might it matter in volatile conditions? And what is Helios asking? I'm wondering about this point. How do sun indicator spikes from external events differ from volatility noise before confirmation arrives? Okay, that's going to be an interesting discussion, an interesting exercise. So how do sudden indicator spikes from external events differ from volatility noise before confirmation arrives? No idea, actually. Let's first dig into the actual chapter question. And I think, again, the initial probe is not necessary. Not necessary. This is confusing. I need to fix this. I always say I need to fix this, and I never fix it. Maybe I'll just give it a quick prompt, and so it works while we're doing this. So let me just do a quick prompt, and I'm just gonna say, can we get rid of initial probe when starting? Usually the chapter question is enough to get started with the discussion. So that's the probe. And we'll go with low. All right. So anyway, let's focus on this. What does a real-time market monitoring mean to you, and why might it matter in volatile conditions? Well, market monitoring basically means monitoring trades, I guess, in this sense, and it matters in volatile conditions um, because you want to react quickly so that you're capturing the right moment to sell, right? To buy and to sell. You see market monitoring striking key trades to react fast in volatile conditions and catch the right buy or sell moments. That captures the core pressure of timing under uncertainty. What trades or signals are you planning to watch first to separate real shifts from random swings? This is a good. This is. I mean, okay. That's actually interesting. Well, what I would do, knowing what I know about the crypto stuff, is I would definitely go and chase things like, um, well, I don't even know where to start. Uh, Traits or signals. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we would start with something naive, like a certain amount of consecutive buys, for example. And by the way, pause. I think I need to have shortcut basically space or something, which is send last thought, or number 123, control, like a, yeah, like a 123, you know, for example, 1 2 3, send one most recent thought. Yeah, I think that's something that could definitely. Okay, anyway, let's continue. Your study of consecutive bodies as an assumption that's a reasonable place to begin. What would a run of those bodies actually suggest to you about buyer or seller control that a single big candle wouldn't? So it would tell me that there's basically a sort of a distributed organic interest in that asset or in that token, and therefore it's good to buy. Obviously, I'm ignoring here cases where we have, like, you know, bundling scenarios where there's multiple wallets controlled by the same person and stuff like this, right? I don't know how you, I guess there's services for these, but I don't know how fast and reliable they are in conditions of for a bot to act quickly. You see consecutive bodies as a sign of real buying interest worth acting on. I guess there are multiple services to know. I know there's this thing like the bubble map, right, where you can actually track if wallets are related to each other via transactions, but I don't know how fast and reliable those services are. Yeah. What delay or data gap would make you treat their output as too slow? Well, I guess you could do things like you could engineer some, you know, maybe there's like solutions that have a lot of like pre-cached and regularly cached bubble maps, you know what I mean? But it's just because the truth is, I kind of noticed that the market of people, especially in Solana, is not that big really. I mean, there's a lot of traders and whatnot, but it's not that big. But again, yeah, like it's just always fresh minted addresses, right? So it's impossible to keep track of Um, I think a delay would just basically be, there has to be, I think the trading bot has to have a threshold where you need to meet both. You need to see the pattern you're tracking, and you need to actually get the thumbs up from whatever bubble service. That's how I would like naively implement these. Yeah, combined rule. The pattern must show up in the bubble service must also be like green line before the trace 3. It really depends. I guess you also want a bot to act non-deterministically, and maybe there's a certain threshold where I don't know, maybe there's like a certain threshold where it just decides probabilistically whether to go for it or not. And obviously then I think addresses need to be stored and tracked, and they might be, you know, this is information you're gathering for the next attempt, right? If you see the same wallets, yeah, the scrolling is a problem actually. How would I set an exact point? I guess there's multiple things you could do. You can just have a very conservative approach where you just like set a fixed amount of time, or you could do something that is more signal based. So until you, for example, see the very first sell trade, or like opposite a trade. So I think what feels safer, and I still hear the fucking beep. Give me a second. I hear it on my headset because it's connected and it's just bothering. The safest option is signal based, but then you need to be able to act really quick. Or it's a combination of both, I guess, right? Do signal based within a certain amount of seconds, but if a certain threshold is passed, then just sell right away, right? You know what I mean? Like, don't wait until, because it might be too late. I mean, it depends. The problem is how fast can you capture that first sell, and what's the slippage that you're going to kind of go through. And maybe it's even a combined thing. So maybe it really is a strategy that depends on how much you've actually bought. How much is the bot actually bought? And because if you're not, you can't, if you can't make a big trade, because a big trade is also going to cause you like a big slippage, and you're not going to be able to make this fast enough, and so you have to like sell in small chunks. So it depends on how big your buy is. You're actually going to structure it differently, I think. You're layering a time cap on the signal weight plus immediate action if threshold hits, while noting that larger buys offer chunk sales to limit slippage. How would you choose the time window when bigger positions make fast execution more critical? How would you choose the time window? Well, it's the blockchain. I guess what you can do is you can do some sort of static analysis up front and generate a strategy that is informed on past trades and past tokens and coins of the kind of target that you think that you're targeting, right? So if I make a bot that is basically mostly just going to do, for example, I don't know, PumpFun, I can also just take a look at the PumpFun history, and I can take a look at how fast the coins, you know, sell, or like what's the and basically based off of this adjust it, you know, or even maybe like do a smaller cohorts. I think that's the smartest actually, to learn from history. Buy size. Trigger 5 seconds to 15 seconds. I don't know if you could really actually narrow it down to these. Which single pass metric from those coins would you pull first to set the window between? So I would look at the time, the average time that it takes for the first sort of drop of, let's say, 30% from peak or something like these. And on top of that, I would take a look at the average until like a rag pull, because a lot of those coins are rag pulls. And so this would give me a sort of a window of like minimum and maximum, and then maybe I can have some risk adjustment parameters on the bot, and then kind of stay in between those elements. How would you turn those two averages into a single live threshold? I don't know. Do some sort of like I mean, probabilistically speaking. Let's ask Grok. Oh crap. So maybe there is trading scenarios. I mean, let's see what Grok says. Apply a risk factor multiplier to the combined threshold for adjustable safety. Position threshold with min max window using risk parameter to scale. Is this what it's asking us? Using a historical average time to 30% drop and a rag pull to set the min max window, then layering adjustable risk parameters on top. How do you turn those two averages into a single live threshold? Well, I wouldn't have. Let's see what Grok says. But I think we pretty much nailed the chapter, right? Let's see if we can have a good answer, and then let's see if we can just check. That's what monitoring means to me, at least. What do we have as chapter 2? List 3 basic indicators you would track in real time and explain why each one is relevant. 3 indicators. I won't get into these. So what does Grok say? Step by step, maintain 2 live rolling averages. These update continuously on every new adverse event. T30, T-Rack. Use the decay factor, so recent rags drops dominate. This keeps everything alive. That's nice, yeah. Actually, that's pretty smart. Set the min-max window directly in the 2 averages. I think that's pretty nice. Oh, so it actually does. What it does, introduce a risk tolerance scalar, and then a user knob, and then dynamics, and compute the base threshold with linear interpolation. Simple to swear and tunable. T-mean plus R times T-max minus T-mean, so how much you're willing to actually go up the risk scale. It directly respects the min-max window. Apply life multiplier safety layers on top, just all risk parameters. Okay, so extra parameters like global safety factor, volatility, signal confidence, conviction factor. Yeah. You can also add hard caps floors, true. More statistical elegance, single base before the window. More symmetrically before building the window. First compute the expected time to first adverse event under simple computing risk. Yeah, okay. Use cadence, recalculate the 30 T-Rack on every new 30% drop or rack observed in your universe. Units, I think it's pretty much, yeah, I think we can just send these. That's just an idea, right? That's an idea. Okay, how the T30 average itself? Well, you would update it. You would update it after after you're moving on to the next trade or to the next token. You know what I mean? Like I would actually um, what I would do is I would design each approach as a time limited experiment, and then you go for these, and then you try to basically buy and sell and then make profit. And after that, then you readjust the parameters. So I wouldn't do a readjustment while the token is alive. And actually the bots would only really sort of be sniping type of bots, so they'll only be like bots focused on like acting in the very first window. What marks the clean end of the experiment? Well, you can actually have either some loss caps or some win caps, right? And if you've gone over the cap either way, then you call it a day, and that's it. Yeah, well, this min max could be related to the window. How could this kind of relate to the min max window you already built for the historical averages? Uh, I'm not so sure. Why would you relate? I mean, there's so many variables that go into these. How would those caps relate to the min-max window you already built from the historical averages? Well, you could have those min-max caps basically also set to some statistical historical values. Which single statistic from the past data would you use first to pick the loss cap value? I don't know. What else do we have? Chapter 1, Chapter 2, 3 basic indicators, Chapter 3, dashboards or alerts. Oh no, we're definitely not using dashboards. Let's summarize what we've covered so far about foundational monitoring concepts, and then we've got how would you adapt. And we have the same problem. I'm not so sure how deep should we go. And yeah, okay, but we're so which single statistic from the past data would you use first to pick the loss cap value? That's a good question. Let's ask Grok. Let's think about these. What could one use to yeah, what's the loss value? Well, I don't think you would use statistics from the past unless you would do. Okay, so unless you do what I would use is I would take a look at the wins and losses from the past with the same bot, and then basically it's like a goal, right? It's like if you're letting the bot run through like multiple tokens and whatnot, then you tell it like, look, over time, I don't want to lose that amount, otherwise just like stop forever, right? I mean, that's kind of like more risk appetite. It's not necessarily like, but you could take a look at previous end results of experiments. Hey man, Um, you want a hard stop to come from the bot's own cumulative wins and losses across tokens rather than historical stats. Yeah. How many of these bots completed trades would you require before trusting that cumulative loss is permanent stop? 100? Like I don't know. I think it needs to be statistically relevant, right? Well, I would treat, like, the thing is, the way that I would go, the way that I would approach these is don't invest money you can't lose, right? So I would kind of go, and first of all, the bot shouldn't play with any leverage or anything like this, anything that can create more losses. And I would just basically say, look, here is, X Solana, and go and try not to burn it all, at least for 100 experiments, and then let's like go from there, right? But if it burns it all, then it's done. Then it was a bad design of the bot. I mean, that's a good question, right? That's a good question. A loss is not a loss until you actually sell, right? I mean, I don't know, is there like a standard way to do this? A loss only exists once you actually sell. Once you sell, the loss counts. How else would you do that otherwise? How else would you do that otherwise? What other stopping conditions? If your current value is less than what you initially invested, seems like the easiest answer. If your current, so I forgot how to pronounce your name. Oeho. If your current value is less than what you initially invested, seems like the easiest answer. Yeah, but what about volatility, right? I mean, it's like if I, like as I said, right? So if I when would you force that sell so the loss counts towards the 100 trade permanent stop goal? I mean, other than defining some sort of thresholds that the user can then sort of adapt, I don't really see anything specific that would tell me, okay, that's not going to recover anymore beyond just pure, risk appetite. How is it to have that into one numeric rule? The bot can check in real time. So you could either define some sort of recoverability window, right? And like you could, but this starts to get a lot convoluted, right? But you would say like, okay, so we want a recoverability window of I don't know, 15 minutes. If not, then we count it as a loss, and that's it. And it can still, like, it can still be wrong, but at least you have. But that, I know that doesn't directly translate maybe to user risk appetite. The translation is not perfect here, but window, say 15 minutes after which an unrealized drop is counted as a loss. How would you set the exact length of that window so it lines up with T30 average from your historical experiments? Again, you could do an analysis as well. You could do a static analysis on past trades, right? And then try to calculate what an optimal recoverability window is. But I mean, how would you say the exact length of that window so it lines up with the T30 average from your historical experiments? Yeah, then maybe you need to at least wait until that T30, right? Would you lock the window to the current T30 value each time or keep it as one fixed number? No, I would actually keep it dynamic, right? Because you want the bot to be more aware of like the current sort of experience that it's had. How would you tie the window idea? You just describe directly to what real-time market monitoring means for you, especially when deciding if a loss counts towards your 100 trade goal in volatile conditions. How do you tie the recoverability window idea you just described? So, and I'm going to wrap it up here, I think. Or recoverability window idea you just described directly to what real-time market monitoring means for you, especially when deciding if a loss counts towards your 100 trade goal in volatile conditions. Okay, so the T30 event idea was that's your signal where you start selling, right? So that is an event that triggers you to sell. So essentially you could use the same time window, right? To then basically say, okay, so what's the time like how would you tie the recoverability window idea you just described directly to what real-time market monitoring means? To me, real-time market monitoring means literally just monitoring the trades real-time, but of that specific thing. And so if loss counts towards your 100 trade goal, the whole idea with the T30 was basically to have a threshold of when do we stop buying and then we start selling. But maybe that is just naive because that is just one specific strategy, right? I mean, this is complicated. No, I don't know what a X speaker is. No, what I'm trying to kind of do some thinking aloud around how would you design like a Solana bot, and it's just amazing how many things you can actually think of. Really, no, I'll check what X speaker is. I mean, I can check what is X speaker. Pick a winner. What is that? Enter Twitter and choose an engagement type. All of Are you betting on X engagements? Are you betting on X engagement? This is crazy. Really? Oh no, it actually picks. Sorry, I read you wrong. Is it really picking a? Oh no, it picks a winner from something. Okay, sorry. I'm just my head is too much on Solana trading right now. I don't know why. Where you ask people to tag a friend. Yeah. No, it should be fairly easy. It should be fairly easy to actually pick a winner to do this. It should just be fairly cheap to build something like that, and then the API is not cheaper. Anyway, let me just go back to this. Wondering, T30 threshold is mainly buy or sell switch, and you know that's just on positive strategy. What second equality simple rule would you run in parallel to test whether it handles the same volatile? What second equally simple rule would you run in parallel to test whether it handles the same volatile conditions better? I don't know what you mean. What second equally simple rule would you run in parallel to test whether it handles the same volatile conditions better? Help me understand this, Grok. Because I don't understand it. And I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. X speaker isn't fair, really? I don't know. Yeah, that probably won't. It's a custom context specific threshold, not a standard primary process. Dual threshold system for volatile conditions. Okay. Ah, okay. So just a simple RSI based rule. Okay, so there is things like that. Ah, okay. Yeah, it's I have to it's just the dimensions are huge. Like the you can go like So what you're saying is I guess the rule for volatility would then be what I just learned from Grok now, that is basically you react to specific price changes. I would say a percentage change, like 5% up, 5% down, whatever, something like this. And let's see if we can just mark it as complete. See if it lets us pass. We've done a lot of depth, in my opinion, in 30 minutes. Regardless of the outcome, then we're wrapping it up here. Not yet. Just not yet articulate a clean answer to what real-time market monitoring means. What ongoing confusion and finished sentences needs to resolve. Okay. We'll stay. I'll pause it. We'll continue later. Okay. See you guys tomorrow.